Welcome back. We're joined live now by Evan Lucas from InvestSMART for a check-in on the markets. And Evan, it's been a pretty lousy week. How are we tracking today?
Yeah, lousy week's an interesting one. I'd even go more as I haven't actually seen a week like this. I actually went back and had a look at what happened in the GFC. To see 4 plus or minus moves per day in the US markets actually didn't happen in the GFC either. So that's how sort of unique this week has been. Last night just missed that 4% move in terms of what we saw in the Dow, and it is down. So we are going to have the same scenario. If you have a look at it, unfortunately, also from an ASX perspective, when the S&P or the Dow has recovered, we haven't gone with it. So we're actually now down over 2.5% more this week than what the S&P and the Dow have been, because we haven't recuperated the kinds of losses that we saw on Monday and Wednesday like we did on Tuesday and Thursday in the States. So that's the other thing about this week. The next question is what happens with regards to the next fallout and where we go from here. The short answer is no one knows, and I think that also needs to be part of the explanation to why markets are so volatile. Is the fallout effect on the supply chain side is still unknown. It's now a question about also the issues hitting Europe and places like South Korea. They are also big manufacturing hubs, and that's the other part of this, is that you are now having other supply chains being interrupted by their new movements in corona. And that's why this is now such a fluid situation for markets to sort of grapple and understand how it's going to work and affect their overall profitability.
And we've just seen too, just such a hit on the Aussie dollar. Are we going to see any relief there anytime soon?
So that's an interesting question. And the reason I say that is the Aussie dollar has been falling, but it did find a floor. And why that is now a question is that we have seen the emergency measures that central banks are taking. And in our world, the biggest and the baddest tends to win out. And what I mean by that, we know that all economies now are trying to support themselves, and the central banks are cutting rates to emergency levels to try and assist that. So the Federal Reserve now comes into this in a big, big way. And that is the interesting thing. The US dollar had actually been quite a protection in terms of what was going on around the trade before this. This week, the US dollar has fallen very, very strongly. And that is not only the fact they cut rates by 0.5%, expectations are that they'll do it again, another 0.5%. And that therefore puts pressure and downward pressure on the US dollar. So yes, the Aussie's fallen, but it probably might actually tick up further. So we're through 66 cents. We were at 64 at the start of the week, and that's not because anything's changed from an Aussie dollar perspective. It's the US dollar side. They are weakening their currency because they are trying to support their economy over there. They have much, much higher levels of capital than we do. And that's why the US dollar is now the one thing to watch, because it is likely to actually fall significantly as the Federal Reserve tries to support the economy by cutting rates and looking to other sort of measures to make sure the US economy keeps going the way it is.
Evan Lucas, as always, thank you for your time.